Welcome to Two Guys, Two Questions, a chaotic, unscripted podcast.
Yeah, surprise questions with no prep.
I'm Ryan Keaton, a real estate guy who's happiest with an ocean view.
And I'm Jared Greer, a retro toy fanatic / loather who may or may not have a Batman cape within arm's reach right now.
You definitely do.
You don't know that.
From alligators to vibrators, superheroes to existential crisis, we cover it all.
Plus, every month we'll bring in a mystery guest and try to keep things extra unpredictable.
So if you like spontaneous conversations, French bulldogs stealing the show, and two guys who think they're funnier than they probably are, then you're in the right place.
Yep. Well, enough of this. Let's do this. Two Guys, Two Questions starts now. All right. Ryan Keaton, tell me what's up.
Jared, well, I'll tell you, a little funny thing to call back on the Bourbon episode. So just strictly out of scientific diligence, I took the bourbons. So a couple different nights, not the same night, but a couple different nights, I essentially had 2 old fashions, and I did that with the basil. And then I did 2 old fashions with a different night.
Yeah.
A couple old fashions with the, what was that brand again? What Benchmark.
Benchmark, yeah.
Benchmark. So it was comical because I noticed the difference and of course thought the basil whenever I was pouring it and knew what it was. I knew what thought it tasted better. But the Benchmark was good. What got me was about, and like I said, I only had 2, so it wasn't like I, was drank to the point of being drunk, but late in the night, and I don't know if the 2 are correlated, but I just thought it was comical and it'd be good fodder. Got the old tummy rumbles after the Benchmark. Yeah. I did not have that with the basil or anything like that, but
yeah, that kind of sucks, really. Yeah. I've thought a lot about this, and I think that I'm probably going to switch to the Benchmark because, I don't drink a ton, but I go through a 5th a month, something. That saves me like $20 a month. That's $20 is nothing to sneeze at,
No. And like I said, it was good. I don't know if the 2 are correlated. I just thought it was funny after coming out of that. But
you just got the bourbon shits.
Yep.
It happens. Happens to the best of us.
What about yourself, man? Do you have anything fun, exciting happen this week?
So today, I was sitting here minding my own business, and they called me from the store. There was a dude in there with a comic. He actually walked in the store with an Amazing Fantasy 15, which in the grade that he brought it in is a $100,000 book. And I just told him to put him on the phone. So we had a discussion on the phone, and quite honestly, he and I were never going to get to a deal on that book, especially, $100,000 is a stretch for it. Most likely it's a $93,000 or $4,000 book. Yep. If you send that book to auction, after all the auction fees, you're going to get $75,000 out of it. So for me to sell it, for me to buy it and feel good about it, I want to pay $50,000 or $55,000 for it. And he was never going to sell it to me for $55,000.
Yeah.
But while he was there, he said, by the way, my dad passed away. The lady at the bank told me to come and see you because there's 5,000 to 7,000 other comic books in the basement of his house. And so I said, well, I'm on my way. So we went up there, and tonight I bought, 5,000 or 6,000 comics that have been in that dude's basement since the newest book we found was about 1974. So it's all gold and silver age comics and up through the early Bronze Age. Fabulous stuff. It's only February, but that's probably the best stuff I'll buy all year. And man, I love it when a plan comes together, I guess. So.
Did you find any pictures for your collection?
Any pictures?
Any framed pictures that are telling stories of yesteryear?
No, I didn't.
All magazines this time, huh?
Yeah, it's all comic books and magazines. There's, quite honestly, I don't know. I don't know what else there. We boxed it up. I didn't make this deal till about 4 o'clock today, and as you're usually over here at 6 to record, so as you know, I put you off twice today because we were there cleaning that basement out before it was getting dark. All the stuff is loaded in my truck and Amanda's truck right now, and after I get done recording, we're going to unload, and probably I'll spend all night going through it.
Spend all night going through it. See if you got a gem in there.
Yeah, see what's in there. But that's kind of the most exciting thing that's happened to me this week. I guess, although I got a lead there. I told him I'd give you his number. He wants to sell the house too, so hopefully you can sell that house and make a little money on it, and we'll both make money off this.
Synergy.
Yeah, right there.
Comics, books, and houses.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. Well, what question you got for me this time
is this
around?
me first?
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is a good one. And you've lectured me in the past about not putting too much thought into this. Or not putting enough thought on these. So I actually did put some thought into this. And so you and I have known each other since, let's say, 1994, right?
Yep.
Somewhere in there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And early in our lives, the context of our friendship was, we were fraternity brothers. We went and partied, and we probably drank too much, and we chased girls, and we did things like that. And then after, 4 or 5 years passed, you and I were doing some business in a sales capacity where you've always been in sales of one sort or another, and I've always said you're the best salesman I know. But anyway, in recent years, you and I have stayed connected through various business dealings and things like that. The thing I don't know, I've known you for half my life, but like, what's the thing that you geek out about that I don't know about? Like, what's the thing that interests you besides, like, I only know, from my early life, partying and girls interest Ryan. And then, but now we're old guys. So bourbon interests Ryan, and sales and just the business of business interests Ryan. But besides that, what's your thing? Like, what are you into?
I've kind of alluded to it a little bit in the past.
I have an idea, but
for me, it is, as far as if I'm going to say geeking out, the first thing that pops to my mind to some level is going to be the beach. Yeah. It is my happy place. It is it's amazing to me almost to some degree of how calm and how much my personality changes whenever I'm at a beach or I'm at the ocean or doing something, because it calms me. Things don't seem as important, not that, they're not, but I mean, like, business is like, okay, business is business, but whenever I'm there, whereas business seems to be more important when you're at home in the thick of things and stuff. But
So you're walking on the beach looking for seashells and shit, or shark teeth, or what? What are you doing? You just in a lawn chair?
Yeah, I am it's funny. So whenever it's a beach, for me, the water, if I'm going to get in the water, I want it bath water, so I'm going to the Gulf typically. I want the water as typically as warm as it gets in July, August, whatever those warmer months are. And there'll be times where I will literally just walk out there, stand, and do nothing with it up to about my waist or chest, and I will stand there for hours and just be tickled to death and love life and just absorb the environment and just, the slow waves. And then, if it's not, warm enough to where I'm comfortable, then I'll just be happy with throwing a big chair and just staring at the ocean and just chilling out. Maybe having, an edible sometimes or something to that effect to kind of calm. But that to me is just my happy place. And, and the cruises, anything that's got the water and the ocean just kind of fascinates me, and it just calms me.
Do you collect anything or do anything? Like, you have a massive stamp or button or bottle top collection or anything like that? Concert tickets, anything? I don't know what.
Yeah. So Nightmare Before Christmas I love that movie. Yeah. I love the whole Jack. My
never
office.
Seen it.
Oh my gosh, shame on you.
Yeah, I know. I'm a self-professed nerd and I've never seen it.
In my office, I have got numerous pieces of Jack artwork, and some of that is stuff that was bought. Some of that is Dixie just knows that I like that, so she can paint and do those things a little bit, or she'll put stuff together. So my whole walls are covered in different Jack art. I actually have one of the old the Halloween 6-foot animatronic Jacks. I've got that. So that's probably the geekiest, nerdiest thing. That's just something that is. Well, matter of fact, for Valentine's Day, she got me a Valentine's Day Jack stuffed animal. So, love the Jack. So you have never seen the movie, though?
I literally haven't. I've sold Nightmare Before Christmas products and comics and toys and everything in the world for years. I've never sat down and watched that movie. Most people are shocked about how many movies I haven't ever seen.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, you don't strike me as a sit down and watch a movie often kind of guy. No. I mean, am I incorrect in that?
You're not incorrect at all. I did back in the day, and it's kind of surprising that I haven't seen Nightmare Before Christmas, but I haven't really lately. I don't know. Every now and then I'll just, if I'm flipping channels or something, I'll catch something and I'll sit and watch it. But mostly I don't, I'm old. My hard drive's full. If I have to, take more stuff in, I have to delete something, and I don't know. It's just I don't watch very many movies.
That's a funny concept there, because I'd seen somebody else mention that it's like if something new comes in after you're at a certain age, then something has to go out.
Yep.
And it's amazing how much things we flush.
Yeah. It's so. Here's the thing. When you sent me, back in the early part of this, we were talking about, dream guests or whatever. Mm-hmm. And two things have caught me off guard a little bit about you. Number one on your list of dream guests was Rob Paulson, voice actor, and several other voice actors. And then you come at me a couple episodes ago with a voice acting question. So I wondered if that was like a thing with you or whatever, or if it's something you're into. But maybe it's just pure coincidence that it happened that way. But I think it's as I was looking at that, I was going, "Is this something about Ryan I don't know?"
I would say that there's probably some level of coincidence, but there's also just I'm kind of fascinated by art, and I feel like that'll be something we dive into in maybe other episodes. But and to me, that's art. Somebody that has 100%. The ability to create that voice and do that. I was just, listening to a podcast with Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
And he was talking about being the Joker, and he ended up doing the voice. And it just, to me, it was fascinating because I know what his voice is. Everybody knows what his voice is, right? Star Wars, you've seen that one, right?
Yeah. I've seen that one.
And, but his voice for the Joker, I was like, oh, wow, Yeah. But, yeah, so it was more or less that. And then also just some of the cartoons that they were participating in, it was those voice actors was also whenever I had my younger kid, when my kids were younger. So I was watching some of those, and it was just like, okay, that would be kind of cool to put that, to be able to talk to them a little bit and find out what was the inspiration, where did that kind of stuff come from, and then how do you land on it, and how do you keep going and getting it again?
Yeah, I see that for sure. I'm a very technical person, a very analytical person. I'm not artistic at all, and people that can make art amaze me. I love art from every angle, be it setting down, drawing something. I collect original comic book art, animation art, all that stuff. People that can sing amaze me. People that, I don't know that I have an artistic talent of any sort. And people who do have that talent or who have that skill, let's say skill, almost get offended when you say, hey, you have that God-given talent. No, most of those people work their balls off to get to that point.
Yeah, but I think that there's...
And maybe I just was never willing to put the work in to develop those skills or whatever, but...
I don't know why someone would be offended because, I mean, yes, you've got to put work into it. I did the EP and we had that movie then, and the stuff we were in that movie, and I have to work, but there's definitely there's some God-given talent there.
Yeah.
But you have to put the work in to be able to exercise those demons and get some of that out of there. But yeah, I wouldn't, to me personally, and I don't know, I wouldn't be offended if someone's like, "Oh, okay, you got a God-given talent," and he was like, "Yeah, I worked on it." You know?
Yeah. Well, some people are. I
would say you've run into that.
I've run into that before. Yeah. I've definitely run into that before. Anyway, creative people amaze me. I wish I was creative. I'm just not.
So do you have, I feel like I have a pretty good beat on your collection, but I mean, is there something that yourself that you feel like I haven't seen, or something that I'd be shocked?
No, I kind of wear my shit on my sleeve.
Yeah.
I look around my house. I'm into, like I said, I'm into art. I'm into comics. I'm into toys from my own childhood. I like movie posters probably more than I like movies. I've got movie posters from movies that I don't even like, but I love the posters. I accidentally collect autographs just because in the business I'm in. I think you know this. I took Jason Ferris with me once. Growing up, my parents ran a fantasy baseball camp, and so I spent part of my childhood surrounded by these professional baseball players, and it was never really part of the equation to get autographs. It was like my parents would always tell me, don't ask so-and-so for an autograph or whatever, because they always saw it as rude or whatever. Or I don't know if they just wanted to feel above that or what the thing is exactly what it was, but we didn't ask for autographs. And looking back on that now, it should have been part of the equation. Like,
especially for fantasy baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just part of that.
What this was at the time, this was the 90s. At the time, it was these doctors and lawyers that had plenty of money, and they'd pay $5,000 to come down and play baseball with professional baseball players for a week and act like they had made it to the big leagues, basically. So all of those people were asking for autographs, and I seriously think my parents just they wanted to feel above that trade or whatever,
Yeah.
But...
I can certainly see that even more so from that demographic.
Yeah, but now for me, being in the business of doing celebrity signings and things, that's always part of the mix for me. If we're booking a private appearance, I'm getting myself 50 autographs in the deal, because later in life I might need something to fall back on, or whatever. So I accidentally collect autographs. I have hundreds and hundreds of signed baseballs. I get baseballs signed by about everybody for myself every year at the convention. I'll take, Rob Paulson, a baseball to sign, and they always look at me like I'm an idiot. But baseballs display really well. And it's something that not everybody signs all the time. So I get lots of those. Like I said, here's a fun fact, I guess, about me. I own a bookstore. I have a massive collection of books, but I don't really read. I know maybe that's dumb or whatever. I read some nonfiction, some reference materials, and every now and then I'll read a business book of some sort. I like nature field guides and things like that. But I'm obsessed with collecting books. I have in my office, I just have bookcases and bookcases of weirdo books. And every time they buy a book collection at the shop, I end up stealing one book out of it or something, But people come in here and they think I'm probably some learned scholar or whatever, reading all the books around here, but
until they ask you a question.
Yeah, I look at the pretty pictures. Definitely just look at the pictures. Anyway, that's me. So Nightmare Before Christmas and drinking beer on the beach.
Oh yeah,
I guess. Okay.
Yeah,
that's a pretty decent, pretty decent answer. I'm trying to, pardon me, I'm looking down here. I'm trying to figure out this. How this equipment works still. I don't know if anybody noticed, probably not. All three listeners of these things, probably the kids that work in my office and your daughter will notice that we have a fancy new room at my house that I've sort of fixed up as a studio. What I was going to tell you earlier is there's some stuff behind you there in your shot there. It's like just random stuff. You can decorate that however you want. I'll let you put your Nightmare Before Christmas shit up there if you want.
I have to do it. I like this little cool Daffy.
That would be Donald. That would be Donald.
Donald. The Donald. So I'm going to have to. Now that we have a new setup, I might have to bring some.
Yeah, you can bring some of your stuff. Yep. I noticed some books back there, so you can look like you're well read. But anyway, it impresses the girls. But maybe, probably not actually. Anyway,
Well, sweet, man.
well, that's sweet. I guess that's all I can ask. I guess. So, what's your question? You got one? Where are we going from here?
Yeah, we're going to go entirely different direction. That's a
Oh.
great question, though, by the way. But
Okay.
there's a reason that this question sparked in my head, but I don't want to put the premise on there without giving it to you and then see how you handle it. So
Okay.
my question is that if you had an opportunity to do a nationwide poll where people had to participate, what would be the one thing you'd want to learn from that?
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke or Pepsi?
I think they did that shit back in the 80s,
I
actually.
think they did.
I think they did. Nationwide poll. I think they called it the Pepsi Challenge. Man, you come up with all these tough questions. The one thing, DC or Marvel? I mean, there's so many. There's literally so many things.
And it could be an idea or something. So, but it didn't have to be product A versus product B. It's just kind of what would you want to learn from
What
that?
would I want to learn from that? God. I'm not good at this. I really am. I am not. You always put me on the spot with these bullshit questions. This is a good one. But these are always real challenging for me. I got to bullshit my way through thinking about it long enough.
But that's where we get to the magic. Is
Yeah,
when you
I guess,
bullshit
maybe.
and you land on something.
Yeah,
I mean, because whenever I asked you about the event or place in history, we ended up getting to the point where he was talking about Papal. And,
I don't know.
It got us to a good place.
Yeah. Man, this one's tough. I like. Franklin thinks it's tough too. Franklin's really pissed off because he doesn't have a chair this episode. He's been hanging out in the chair with us. So, nationwide poll. What were you thinking here? I'll
tell you what.
What was your train of thought with this bullshit question?
Well, this is
It's
where I
not
was
a
coming
bullshit
from.
question.
From what I would like to know is, because remember, in this utopian world,
Yeah.
people have to answer it, and you're going to learn something from
Yeah.
this. So what I would want to learn is, why in the hell is there so much hate? Why do people hate certain people, or why do they hate that? And be able to learn where that's coming from.
Yeah. Well, that's a great point. That's much deeper than I would have ever got. But I heard one of the dogs in there squeaking a toy, and I thought it was screaming or something. That got Franklin's attention. So I can answer that question though. The hate comes from money, because when you can keep people pissed off at each other, you can hold their attention. Especially with the news cycle and things like that. Everybody being warm and fuzzy with one another doesn't sell anything. It doesn't make any money. Well, it doesn't keep you watching Fox News or CNN all day long.
I think the people that are wanting the hate to be there, that's part of it. What I would want to know is why people think they hate. Because if you say, why do you hate that person, they're not going to say, or why do you hate this group or whatever, they're not going to say because of money, right? Even though that may be the reason, that's not what they're I just think it would be an interesting practice to kind of see the rationale.
Well, here's the thing. If you ask everybody why they hate, they'll tell you they don't. Normal people, even if they do, they don't realize it. I don't think. I mean, if you go ask, I say a lot of times that, maybe my grandparents' generation was overtly hateful and racist and all that sort of thing. My parents' generation, I think, is passively that way. And maybe our generation is unknowingly that way. But I feel like my kids are much better at at being good people than I am. I mean, I've tried every day of my life to treat everybody the way I would want to be treated, but my kids are still outdoing me on it. You know,
yeah.
My kids give me hope,
which hopefully means that we did a good job. That we were continuously trying to improve.
I know that you probably have the same experience I do, and I will say that I feel like my father is a genuinely good person, but he still says things now and then that just make me absolutely cringe, you know.
But in fairness, I'm sure we do the same exact thing to
yes,
our
we
kids.
do the same thing to, yeah. Jackson will look at me every now and then when I think I'm being completely cool, and he'll look at me like, what'd you just say?
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. We're back to, do you look at history through the lens of today? Or do you look at our parents or our grandparents' wiring through the lens of today?
Well, I think it's always easy whenever you're looking back at history to romanticize it.
Yeah, it is.
You know, because I was watching a documentary the other day, and they were talking about the 50s, and everybody romanticized and said the 50s was the best age and all that kind of stuff. But people in the 50s, you ask them, they're like, gosh, we hardly could get this or that. Or, you know, there's, you know, I would argue that we probably grew up in the last best generation for being able to just live without being under a microscope, you know, because thank goodness we did not have video cameras and those things while we were in college and we were young. So we didn't, we were able to kind of live without having that holding over our head that, you know, a bad moment or just you make a stupid decision whenever you're 19 years old and somebody catches on camera, and now that's who you are for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't tell this story, but I will. If he gets mad at me, I'll take the flak. My oldest kid, when he was in high school, as one does, I guess, some girl had sent pictures of her boobies to some of the other boys or another boy or whatever, and of course the boys had passed the picture around. Hey, you know, look what I got. But so they pull a bunch of kids into the office, like how'd y'all get this picture? And somebody says, well, so and so sent it to me, and so sent it to me, and Jaron thought he was being honorable, and he just said, I don't know where I got it. You know, somebody, I guess I got it from somebody. He wouldn't say where it came from. So anyway, at 16 years old, Jaron got charged and had to go to court for, I can't remember exactly what the bullshit charge was, but basically receiving, you know, underage pornography or whatever. And he had to do like 80 hours community service. And he was very close to becoming a registered sex offender over it. Wow. And I think, man, if there'd have been phones and cameras and pictures when I was a kid, I don't even want to think about it. You know,
I definitely do not.
Yeah, it's a weird place, but you know, that's the world that our kids had to learn to navigate that we didn't.
Yeah,
and you know, that was that was already many years ago, so they were just trying to figure it out at that point. Now I think my younger son was pretty good at navigating the whole cultural situation, I guess, whatever it is. I'm just glad that we didn't have to, because we would not have been good at it, I don't think.
I would not have wanted to be the one that was learning that on the fly.
No. I mean, so I vividly remember being in a dorm room my first year of college. We got access to this thing that we didn't even know what it was really, but it was called the internet. And I was fortunate enough to have a computer in my dorm room, and I got signed up to get campus internet. And I remember waiting probably 30 minutes, watching little dots go across a blue screen with white text, and downloading a photo off the internet of a naked Anna Nicole Smith in black and white. And it probably took 30 minutes to download that photo. But that was like the gift from God.
It was everything.
It was everything. She had just been in Playboy, and it was the Anna Nicole Smith Playboys. And me and the Conley boys were sitting there in the dorm room looking, can you believe this? Right here on the computer, you know? and then Netscape Navigator came out, and we weren't allowed to use it on campus because it would literally cripple the college's network to have a graphical internet browser. Anyway, weird times, kid. Man, I still don't know. I mean, we've talked all around this, but I still don't know what burning question I would want to ask America, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, there's 1,000 but nothing that immediately just comes to my mind. Although I'm definitely on board with yours.
Because I don't think you're going to really get to the root of why someone, but I just think it would, if, in this utopian kind of situation, being able to get to the root of maybe trying to figure out why people have the differences that they do. And then is there a way to be able to take that to maybe educate people a little bit better?
No, I think we have the differences because we're taught the differences somehow or another, whether we know it or not, or the differences are cultivated by the people around us who...
Well, and I think social media plays a large part
right?
Yeah. I mean, because
Absolutely.
social media feeds you more of whatever you want. That is the whole purpose of social media is like, you want that? Let me give you more of it. And then the problem is you only get one side of the story and you get that kind of drilled in. But
talking to my dad on the phone tonight, and I could hear Fox News blaring in the background. And, it could just as easily be CNN or whatever. I don't care what side of it you're on. But when you live in that bubble of only hearing the things that reinforce your own opinions, your opinions just get stronger and stronger and stronger. And it goes back to the money. There's no money in people getting along. When the news is not interested, people won't stay locked into it. And
news isn't news anymore, right?
It's not. News is all opinion now.
24-hour, it became entertainment. The news is gone from the news.
Yeah. Nobody sits and just randomly reads off a piece of paper. The White House did this today with no inflection or no tone of judgment. Nobody does.
No, it's got to have their spin.
Yeah.
It's got to have the spin.
And I get it. I find myself telling stories to people or telling people something I heard somewhere, repeating something I heard. I'm going to put my own spin on it too. So I get that.
So did you see the Snoop and Tom Brady commercial on the Super Bowl?
No.
It was essentially the two of them. Basically,
I didn't get to watch Super Bowl, by the way.
Yeah, it was essentially just the two of them standing face to face saying, I hate you because of this. I hate you. And then all of a sudden they're like, the realization is like, this is stupid. Yeah. It's I hate you because you live in California and I live in Alabama. That's what a lot of the hate boils down to is like we want to put everybody in California in one group, or everybody that's in Kentucky is one subset of population, and it's just frustrating that that's the case, and that's kind of what that purpose of that commercial was, is just trying to bring some notoriety, I guess, or just to basically bring it to the attention that is not the way to move forward.
Yeah. Speaking of the Super Bowl, Drake or Kendrick Lamar?
Well, I find that whole thing just kind of baffling. For one, I don't pay much attention to it, so I can, if I had to sit down and take a test on what the beef is about, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I don't either.
I have no clue.
The only thing I know is that I can wear my American Eagle jeans again.
I did think that for the Super Bowl, I thought the message was really kind of cool and clever the way that he pulled it off. I'm not necessarily into that particular style of rap. I like the gangster rap and those kind of things is kind of because that's what I grew up on, that stuff. So that speaks to me a little bit more as far as just the rhythm and everything about it. But as far as the message, I love the fact that they had Samuel Jackson, Uncle Sam out there, which was really cool. But yeah, I will just have to plead the fifth. I am not knowledgeable enough to speak on the Drake or Lamar.
Yeah, so I was driving through most of the Super Bowl, and I really wanted to get home and watch it, but I missed the halftime show. I caught like the last 3 minutes of the Super Bowl or something, which was non-eventful. I guess it was eventful. It was
That's about the time they brought out Serena, right?
Yeah, yeah. But the game was already over by then.
Yeah. The game was over at halftime. So first quarter, really.
Yeah, it was definitely over. But I did watch the halftime show on YouTube, which led me to every single thing I saw on TikTok for the next 3 or 4 days was Kendrick Lamar. My kid really likes Kendrick Lamar. I don't.
Well,
I'm unopinionated about it, really.
I think that was like I said, I thought the message was cool, music, but the first thing because we've got like this little text group with the kids, and I was like, halftime show, message was cool, and my kids are just like, what? That was the best halftime I've ever seen ever. It was amazing. I loved it, and which to me is kind of cool, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, to where that younger generation just kind of gets it, and they were rallying behind. They liked more of the songs, so they knew some of the songs, but they were right. More of their context was just, oh my gosh, I love this message. I love how much emphasis he was putting on this and the tension.
Yeah, sorry, Franklin's over here being a bit of a douche. He's here, Franklin, say hi. Anyway, he's it's difficult. We have a dog problem for sure. Get down, come on. Anyway, all right. Well, what else? Tell me something good.
Well, that's it, man. That's
so that's 2 questions in the bag, but this we need to talk about some more shit. We got there's probably more to talk about. I just don't know what it is. So, tell me what you're going to decorate your space back there with.
Well, there's definitely going to be some. I got to figure out exactly how I'm going to kind of put this together and what can come over.
So
here.
really, what I see in the shot is, from the Chuck Norris and the baseball and that sort of thing. So, whatever's setting right there, is that space I'll give you to kind of pimp out. And
I appreciate the 6x8 area that I get to decorate as my own.
It's like having your own cubicle in an office somewhere.
Yes, exactly. I do like this.
What is this? Oh yeah. They got me that for Christmas. The kids at my office got me that, and it fits me, I guess. The other thing that fits me a lot is not my circus, not my monkeys. I say that a lot. Although it is very much my circus and they are very much my monkeys, I try not to be in charge of anything there. My Ashland store kind of runs itself, and they don't even like it when I go there. So they're the ones that usually gouge me about being the boss. I don't think they appreciate me as their boss. I go there and they treat me like I work for them. I'm an overrated truck driver. So when I show up there, they say, "Hey, can you haul this to the other store for us," or whatever. I don't know if you have that. Do you have that around your office or your life? I mean, your daughter's helping you out, but is she in charge of you?
No. Now, once she gets a little bit better at the job, that very well may happen at some point. But she's so new at this point. Yeah. But no, the funny thing is that she did say, whenever she was, we love when Jared comes in. He's so much fun.
So nobody that works for me sees me as their boss.
No, that was not the impression that I got, except for the back. You apparently are the only one that gives 2 shits about the back of the store.
Yep,
I'm obsessed with it. And you have said that as well. So.
Yep. It's my pet peeve in life. Amanda, the girl that runs that store, the back room is always indicative of her personality, which is a fucking hot mess. Sorry, Amanda. But I don't know. It's so hard. I go in there and spend 3 or 4 or 5 days in a row cleaning it all up or whatever, and then a month later, it's a shit show again. I don't know. There's no winning. Man, I just had a really good, I know this is 2 guys and 2 questions, but I just had a really good 3rd question for you.
Sweet.
And the way my mind works, it's fucking gone already. I mean,
before you could get the words out, I have a question. Yep. The question disappears.
Yep. That's You know, that's exactly what happened. It like the light bulb went off in my head. Wow, this is a really good thing. And by the time I could make my brain, make my mouth say it, it was gone. And that's me every day. I don't know about you.
I usually do not struggle with that. Now, the funny thing is, what I will do, and my family will love the fact that I'm going to go ahead and admit this, because I don't know that I've ever admitted that it actually happens, but I know it does. But I will be sitting there and I will start a sentence, and it's just because I am so tethered to my phone with the real estate and with the fact of people are, it's just constant influx of answering questions, or I got to solve this problem, put out this fire, do this, do that. And, which I love all that. But what I will do a lot of times is I will start a question, and then, and then I'll just, that's exactly what it is. I'm like, I'll finish something. They're like, will you just fucking finish what?
Spit it out.
What's the rest of that? So that happens, unfortunately, a lot. So it's that, I don't know. I lose the train of thought and I go to do something. So I remember what I'm going to do and I can go back to it. But apparently for the receiver of that, it doesn't happen as fluid as what it does in my head.
Yeah. Okay, I remembered the question, and this is going to be a short and sweet one. But it's I had this thought today while I was there looking at comics, and I'm going to waste it because I don't think it's a whole episode, so I'm going to waste it right now. Do you trust your gut?
100%.
Okay. Today,
I don't know that I should every time, but my gut served me well. I'm sure at some points it's let me down or something, but for the most part, I feel like my gut. Now, I don't probably go with my gut real fast.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to dig in with that, but my gut is going to probably lead me to try to find the information whenever I do the research.
I made an offer on those comics today after looking at them for about, and we're talking 6,000 or 7,000 comics here. After looking at them for 3 minutes, I kind of flipped, just for a minute or two, I flipped through a few things, and I made an offer on them. And when the people walked away, they negotiated a little bit, but once we said the deal's done and we kind of got by ourselves again, the girls both questioned me and said, I think you might have overpaid for that. And I thought, well, that's just what my gut told me. And in the end, as we were packing up, we realized we came out like, that's okay. Yeah. Dogs are fighting under my desk. We came out like a rose on the deal, I think. But as I got home, Katrina and I were talking on the way home. As I got home, Katrina said, well, I'm glad you trusted your gut on that. And I said, sometimes I think schmucks trust their gut. Professionals have data and things like that, and or analyze the situation a little better. And trusting your gut, I think, has the potential to get you in a whole bunch of trouble. But luckily, it's always served me okay. But so anyway, I don't know. I was just curious what your take on that was. But
wouldn't you say that? I mean, yes, you went with your gut. Yes, you made the decision after 3 minutes, but you probably internally gathered a shit ton of information in that amount of time with what you've seen. Yes, you were taking, yes, there was a risk, right? But I mean, it's funny because we actually had somebody came over and done a little bit of work for us at the house. And it's the first time I'd ever had somebody do this to me, but I was like, okay, well, what do we owe you? And a friend of a friend had sent them over. So if somebody we trusted, we knew, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And he was like, whatever you feel is fair.
Oh, I hate that.
And I'm like, I hated that. Mm-hmm. And, I was like, all right, whatever. So, we came up with dollar amount, and then
you're always overpaying in that situation.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Somebody's fucking your eyeballs out in that situation.
And, so Dixie was like, oh, okay, well, she goes, yeah. She was actually thinking higher. Mm. And then after I thought about it later, I was like, I know that guy would have took less. But I felt like for what he did, that, and knowing if I was to hire Joe Blow that I called off of, whatever, that's about what it was going to be. But, that was one of those situations. I went with my gut. Yeah, it's probably more than what he would have taken. but it's what I felt like was fair considering everything that I knew about it. So to me, that's back to what we were talking about with the gut. You know, usually when I'm making a gut decision, I'm not, my gut's made the decision, but I'm usually going to put some additional thought, or there's additional things that I've went, you know, whether it be showing a house, right? And you're like, you know what? My gut says it's going to go this. It's not really my gut in that situation.
Oh no, that's your expertise.
That is,
I think,
and it's the same way with you.
Yeah, I guess
with that, it was expertise. I mean, you had seen enough in that short period of time to where you felt like you were going to, worst case scenario, break even.
Yeah, break even on the deal. Worst. I have.
That's a good question.
It's funny you said that. I have one guy that I hate this word, but I'm going to use it. I have one guy that is a picker. He picks stuff for me. He calls me twice a week and says, "Hey, I got something for you," or you know, "Hey, I'm at a estate sale and they got something you want," or whatever. Anyway, he always comes up with cool shit that I want to buy, and he does that to me every time. I know most of the stuff he brings me, he has nothing in. He's dug it out of the damn trash somewhere, or you know, out of an estate sale that he has no money in, or whatever. And every single thing he brings me, he says, "Just pay me what you think it's worth." And that's like the worst fucking thing ever. I hate it. But you know, I try to be fair with this guy because he brings me a lot of stuff. He brings me a lot of cool stuff. He's the guy I was telling you about I did a drug deal with behind Lowe's, buying some Halloween costumes.
The Halloween costume
Halloween
guy?
Costumes, yeah. Anyway.
Knock off.
All right. Well, I think that's probably...
It's a good one, man.
That's probably enough bullshit for one day. You tell me. You got anything else?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Good, man.
All right.
On to the next.
Internet land, we'll see you next round.
And just like that, another episode of Two Guys, Two Questions is in the books.
We laughed. We learned. Well, we mostly just laughed.
Yeah, and if you made it this far, congratulations. You now have random knowledge you never asked for.
You're welcome.
Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. Or don't, but just know if you don't, we're bringing back the squeaky toys.
Oh, it's coming back either way.
Until next time, same two guys, two questions, and absolutely no idea what we're doing.
Perfect.